Okay, welcome everyone to this edition of This Is My Brave, Stories from Home. We're doing cast interviews today. I have with me as a guest this morning or this afternoon, Josiah Arnett, and he is joining us as a member of the This Is My Brave High School Edition DC area cast. So Josiah, welcome. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Can you just tell me a little bit about yourself, just as a nice intro before we get started?
Yeah, for sure. So I just graduated high school at Mount Vernon High School, and I'm going into my freshman year of George Mason. And I'm going to be majoring in theater education because I hope to become a teacher in the long run. Because I really like students, and I think that providing people with education is the best way to get them to make good choices in life. So if I can aid in that process, I will just feel so grateful.
You know, just this, I wasn't going to say this right out of the chute, but just based on what you just said, I mean, I think we know in the mental health world, having an outlet for, a creative outlet it's become obvious that is really so important, especially now during COVID times. I think that, we're realizing that the arts play a very important part of, helping people with their mental health and giving people an opportunity to express themselves. So I just love that you're going to inspire a whole bunch of young people and help keep them healthy and also educating them in something that they'll carry with them for their entire life. I mean, to be strongly oriented towards performance, I think means that they'll be great at giving speeches at work or sorts of things, So I'm really excited for you. That's a really great choice. So I encourage you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
also, I can tell that it has been, that the performing arts have served you well because I've seen you do your piece.
Yes.
So before we get to your piece, talking about that, tell us what brought you to This Is My Brave in the first place. How'd you hear about us?
Okay, yeah. So I do a lot of stuff around this. Well, I used to. I'm graduated now. But I used to do a lot of stuff around the school, a lot of different advocacy things. And I was just like really a part of the community, and I like knew the staff and things like that. And so one of the counselors at the school, her name is Miss Menzel, and she contacted the theater teacher, and she was like, "Hey, do you have any theater students who like maybe want to share their story or that perform? Because they're having this is my brave thing, and I think it'll be really great. And it's talking about mental health." And so I went to go see her maybe a week or so later, and I came to her office, and she handed me a bunch of stuff, and she like emailed me a link, and she was like, "Yes, I think this is perfect for you." And I was so thankful to her because she told me about it. And then I guess the passion comes from wanting to share my story. I think that, when you can share yourself with other people, they can start to begin their own healing process. So if I'm in a place where I can be vulnerable and open with someone and they can be like, "Hey, I've been through that too," we can kind of build that connection and they can sort of jumpstart their own healing. Or if they're already in the process, they can connect and say, "Wow, this described things in a way that I couldn't," or, I just needed someone to be there with me. And I think those are luxuries that you don't always get. So I'm hoping that in sharing my story, I can better help people.
Yeah, I think that's great, especially young people who maybe are reluctant to step forward. So being the example and being the modeling the brave to share your story, and so somebody else who may feel like they could use that sort of outlet will be inspired to do the same. That would be amazing, right?
Yeah.
So, how's it been for you, just with COVID? I mean, you tried out for the show. We did virtual auditions, so certainly we were already under kind of a lockdown in the state at the beginning. It was the beginning of the quarantine that we did the tryouts. So, but when you learn that school is going to be canceled in your senior year, all those things were one by one falling away and you weren't going to get to do them. How was that for you?
It was a lot because, So a part of like studying for theater education and stuff is I also was a part of independent study in my senior year so that I could be a teacher and teach students in the classroom. And the other part of that class, like researching like how students work and things like that. And one of the things that I learned, and there's a few educational theories that kind of describe this, is that for the first 12 years of your life, you know what I mean? School is your major relationship. And so, like, you know, how you are in the school environment is going to create who you are, good and bad, because it has that much of an effect on your life. And so, but a lot of students don't realize that. So when COVID happened and school got taken away, I realized how almost empty my life is, you know, and it felt like really like I had lost everything. We were working on a show, we were working on producing a show, a musical in theater, and I had a really good part, and I was like, wow, you know, that slips through my fingers, not to mention graduation is gone, and, you know, these moments where I should be celebrating are kind of taken away from me. And now, you know, I've got to instantly start thinking about college all of the time because there's no breaks anymore because
Right.
of COVID, you know? So I definitely got stressed, like super stressed, you know, and balancing in between going into a negative space and then also like also being in a space where I don't want to work at all, even though I have things to do, you know what I mean? And one of the ways that I kind of found myself and found ways to keep myself together is through like different spiritual practices. And I've been doing a lot of meditation. I've always been, you know, kind of spiritual, but I started doing so much more meditation and self-discovery and looking at myself and reassessing like different parts of my life, different relationships. And then of course, you know, I write poems. So anytime I'm having a bad day, you know, writing a poem is a great outlet to kind of, even if I'm not going to perform it or put it out there, just writing it and letting it go and expressing it is really important for me.
Yeah, getting it out of your head and onto paper.
Yeah.
That's important. So when you share your poem on our stage, will this be the first time you've ever presented your poetry in that way, in that on a stage, or have you shared before?
I've shared a few times. So my mom was actually a professional poet in DC for
Oh,
about 8 years. So she was performing and hosting poetry events, and so I kind of grew up around it.
yeah.
So I performed on stages before, and in like high school talent shows, I've performed my poems, and like different just different random performances here and there. I think this is the first time that I'm performing a poem as a fully developed performer. I think, you know, I've been in the theater realm for I want to say about 6 years now. So, you know, I've been doing different performances and things like that. But as I grow into learning more about myself, I feel way more comfortable to then share it. So my onstage performances are getting way more realized and real, you know what I mean? And so I think in the past there's been a little of reluctancy to really like share the poem and share all of it.
Yeah.
You know, like even there might not be as much performance or might not be as much of a connection because you're almost scared to sort of share this secret part of yourself. But now I'm in a space where I so want everyone to hear and experience and feel with me and just like come together in that way. So I'm really excited.
Great. So your performance will be very cathartic for you and like a new
Yeah.
step for you. But I think also it'll be so great for people who see you perform your piece and hear the, you know, the story, the backstory of it. That's going to be really cool. So I just want to remind everyone that we will be featuring the DC area cast in our high school edition of This Is My Brave. It will be stories from home. So we'll see Josiah probably in this setting like this, sharing his story, his poetry, and that will air. All those will be compiled together and it will air on October 18th. And so if you'd like to know more information about that or register to get the link to do that, you can go to thisismybrave.org to find out more. Josiah, thank you so much for being here and talking with us today. And we're really looking forward to having you on the show and So, and then we wish you well as you head off to college, but we'll wait. We'll get through the show first. We're excited to see what you do, and I just think you're going to be a really inspirational teacher, and I'm excited that
Thank
you're
you.
choosing that career. Your students are going to be your future students are going to be really lucky. So,
Thank you.
all right. Well, thanks for joining me today, and we'll talk soon.
Bye.
Okay.